Hey, welcome back. Listen, I know I haven't recorded a video in several days. I usually put out more than this volume. I may have to stop and catch my breath a little bit here and there. I came down with something Sunday. It was early Monday morning, Sunday night. And I did have to go get a test. And normally, I mean, this stuff happens, you get a bug, you get sick, you get a virus, whatever. But I had to go make sure I didn't have COVID. It hit me pretty hard. I was coughing pretty bad, but it turns out negative for that. But I did catch something. And luckily, you can't catch it through here, even with the VR visors, and it may look like you're sitting right across the table from me. Actually, you can't breathe my air. So, good news there. But we are going to talk about some aspects of bourbon, but I'm not going to drink any today because I'm on antibiotics and all that. But we'll do it right after this. All right. I do have a couple of bourbons here, no glasses, but for demonstration purposes only. And it's important because I did go back and reread the law. There is a Congressional Federal Register law on the books in the United States that at least legally in the United States, what can and cannot be called a bourbon, and classifications of other liquors as well. They classify moonshine and things like vodka and gin, and it's all in there. And what they talk about there is the proofing of distillation at 180 proof. But the more importantly than that is what a bourbon can go into the barrel at. And to go into a barrel, now, of course, we've gone over this before. It has to be 51 or more % corn. It can be 100% corn, but it can also above the 51%, as long as it's 51% corn or more. It can also contain rye and barley and wheat. Not sure about other grains, but it can contain other grains. But that's typically the common is barley, rye, and wheat. Now, when you start getting into 100% wheat whiskeys, that's not a bourbon. Barenheim is one of them. And then 100% rye, like Whistle Pig. And of course, that's produced in Canada anyway, and it's procured in the States, and then they blend it and barrel it and age it and all that. So, but with that, those are not bourbons. So and it's part of a whiskey law. It's not just bourbon. It's what can be called a whiskey. And they do spell it without the E in the law. So WHISKY. It has to go to be a bourbon, not a whiskey. A bourbon has to be in unused new oak barrels, charred. They can put different chars on them, but it cannot go into the barrel higher than 125 proof. Now, the reason I brought out Elijah Craig is because it is 127.2 proof. How could that be? How can they call this a bourbon? Well, the science behind that is if you pour, there's a couple of things. One is if you pour alcohol into an open glass, open container, and set it out, the ethanol and the alcohol, will evaporate over time. It will eventually lose its potency, actually reduce the level of alcohol by volume. But in a barrel, it does not. What does evaporate more in that barrel environment is water, and the wood tends to soak up water faster than alcohol. So leaving a higher concentration of alcohol in the mixture in the barrel. Okay. So that's why this probably went in the barrel at the maximum 125 proof. And then as the water absorbed into the barrel, it left a higher concentration and left us with 127.2 proof. There, now you know. So you're not going to find even barrel strength, cask strength, or barrel proof bourbons much higher than maybe 128, 129 at, I would say, a max. Maybe tip 130. I don't know. It would have to go in. It would have to be a perfect combination of whatever for that to happen. But typically, what we call barrel proof cask strengths are the higher end ones. Now, the ones that are claiming to be cask strength barrel proof that are lower, say 118, they just didn't barrel it at 125 proof. They barreled it at a lower proof. All bourbon, all whiskey starts off as moonshine. Just does. It's clear. All of the color from bourbon comes from the barrel, from the wood, interaction with the wood, soaking some of those notes out of the wood. You cannot add artificial color to bourbon. So what you see is what you get. This is the color. It went in the barrel clear and came out like this. Now, this is aged 12 years. Also have a Basil Hayden's, because that's also important. The minimum alcohol by volume is 40% or 80 proof. You should not see a bourbon, or even a whiskey for that matter, lower than 40% or 80 proof. It's on the books. Now, I can attest for what other countries do, but in the States, they can sell a bourbon that was not produced in the United States if they say clearly on the bottle in the style of American bourbon. But they cannot sell it as bourbon. That's very important because, when we see distilleries, or not distilleries, but companies that procure bourbons and blend them together, like Old Elk. No, Old Elk's a distillery, but Barrel Bourbon does it. They don't distill their bourbon. They procure it and then they blend it. Now, I think Barrel is overpriced at $95 to over $100 a bottle. They're not distilling anything. Is it good? Sure, it tastes fine, but it's just not great. It's not that much better than other bourbons. What we're trying to do with this channel is bring you honest reviews of real stuff you can get your hands on. Now, I know every once in a while I'll do a local bourbon or something like that, and I can't promise that if you don't live around here, that you're going to be able to find it. There's other ones, and I'm in contact with people, and right now with COVID, there's not a lot of travel going on. But I do have people in other states that I've met throughout my career and other, aspects of life that say, oh yeah, I could get that here. I see it all the time. Oh man, pick me up a bottle of that. Next time I'm out that way, I'll grab it and pay you for it. And they kind of build shelves, maybe not this massive, but they have a decent collection of bourbon. So, I found a good store near me that has a smaller ABC board that has a president of that board that is a bourbon head too. So lucky me. And it's only there. She's only about, that store is only about maybe 40 minutes from my house one way. So it does take me a few hours to go and come back and, or a couple hours, to get bourbon and come back. But that's really what I wanted to cover today. And I'm kind of running out of breath too. So, going to go ahead and cut this off. Hopefully I'll feel better over the next several days and I'll be able to, taste some of these things and some of the ones I haven't opened yet and start bringing you more reviews. I don't want to do it now because I don't know if this is affecting my taste buds or I know it's probably affecting my sinuses. So I don't want to bring you a half-cocked review based on me trying to get a nose or a palate on something when it's askew. So I want to bring you an honest review. So I'm going to wait until I'm 100% again. And then we'll get back into it. So as always, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell down there for notifications. Share me out. And I promise I'll keep making you these videos.